We'll open the meeting at 12:33 p.m. Thank you for your attendance. We have 3 councillors online and we have 6 councillors in the chamber. C1, Rex Airlines Partnership Proposal. Do we have someone to move into closed? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move.
Chair, excuse me.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Are we doing conflicts now, or do we do it later?
Oh, well, if you wanted to do a conflict, do it now.
Yep, okay. Just bear with me. I'll just make a statement first. This declaration was also made at the meeting of the 10th of the 8th, 22. Although I made the declaration, then I will make it again. The description is, item is C1. Description is Rex Airlines Partnership Proposal. Declaring councillor is Councillor Mark Edwards. Person with the interest, related party, close associate, other relationship is myself, Mark Edwards, and my sister's son-in-law. Particulars of interest. My sister's son-in-law works for Rex in Brisbane office, as the chief LAME, licensed aircraft maintenance engineer. Type of conflict is declarable conflict of interest, and action is, although I have a declarable conflict of interest, I do not believe a reasonable person could have a I do not believe a reasonable person could have a perception of bias. Therefore, I will choose to remain in the meeting. However, I will respect the decision of the meeting on whether I can remain and participate in the decision.
Okay, Councillor Taylor.
I'd like to move that as in the public interest that Councillor Edward participates and votes on agenda item C1 because a reasonable person would trust that the decision is made in the public interest.
We have a seconder, Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie.
Yes.
Councillor Guthrie, are you in favour?
Yes.
Righto, that's 8-0. Any other conflicts? Righto. Then Councillor McMullen, you were going to move.
I'll move it. In accordance with the provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, that Council resolved to close the meeting to the public to discuss confidential items that as Council consider is necessary to close the meeting. In accordance with section 254J5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the following table provides the matters to be discussed and an overview of what is to be discussed while the meeting is closed. Agenda item C1, Rex Airlines Partnership Proposal.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
Okay, 9-0. Okay, we're back on C1. I'd like to move, I might go off that one, that Council repeal resolution number OM/08.222/06 and replace with that Council and Rex agree to the following: a 4-year partnership proposal, 1st of January 2023, 31st of December 2026, as offered by Rex on the 11th of May 2022, based on a fixed passenger tax of $29.91 ex-GST without landing fees for a period of 4 years, subject to annual CPI increases based on a commencing fixed revenue in lieu of passenger head tax arrival and departing passengers for CY 2023 of $1,301,805 ex-GST calendar year plus September 2022 CPI increase commencing from 1st of January 2023 and each year after of the contract.
No, Mr Mayor, that's no.
No good?
You're locking that in at this current rate then.
Yeah, just.
No, CPI increase. Okay, righto, well, I'll leave that out. But anyway, you know what I mean. 2, jointly adopt MRC model called the MRC Residential Fare Scheme for $169 including GST per one-way ticket, and the MRC SME Fare Scheme $250 including GST per one-way ticket for Maranoa residents.
Through the chair, can I just say, I don't think those are GST, they're 169. I can quickly check that, but they're not. We've never discussed them as being inclusive of GST. We've just called them flat rate fare. So I'd be removing GST. Sorry.
Right, I'll take that out, but I think they actually are. But yeah, because they're that now. So for a period of 4 years, aligning with the partnership proposal unless extraordinary circumstances agreed by both parties. And then we'll just put in there maybe something about excluding any local agency fees. Okay, 3, Rex will provide a monthly average seat capacity of 20% to the MRC residential fare with a minimum seat capacity of 20% of the MRC residential fares with a minimum seat capacity of 10% on peak flights and above 20% on off-peak flights. 4, excess baggage can be pre-booked in advance by participating MRC resident fares. Customers by participating MRC resident fare customers at a lower excess baggage rate than at Roma Airport. This cost will be $33 to a maximum of 23 kilos and carriage subject to payload restrictions. 5, Rex must apply to TMR to request additional capacity should the average monthly load factor exceed 85% over a 6-month period. 6, the local travel agent may offer the same deals as Rex under the MRC Residential Resident Fare Scheme and MRC SME Fare Scheme to maintain a competitive local presence, noting that the local travel agent may charge its own additional agency fees on top of the MRC resident and MRC SME fare. 7, both parties will make reasonable endeavours, barring any external shocks, to grow passenger numbers to 120,000 passengers over the period. 8, confirm that Rex has removed the advance booking constraints as part of the new MRC resident fare scheme, and Rex permits the residents to change the date of the purchased MRC resident fare up to 48 hours prior to the flight departure. The MRC resident fare would not be use it or lose it if changed outside the 48 hours prior to the flight departure. 9, confirm that additional benefit has been agreed in relation to clause 6, close relative, to which Council and Rex do not object to being on the register. 10, confirm the availability of residents to change the date of MRC resident fare.
To me, you didn't read that right.
Beg your pardon?
It doesn't say availability.
Right, sorry. Confirm the ability of residents to change the date of the MRC resident fare on compassionate or medical grounds prior to the flight departure time, subject to the provision of compassionate or medical evidence and subject to seat availability. 11, acknowledge the benefits of the partnership or acknowledge the benefits of the partnership on social and economic grounds. 12, that one-way tickets and/or return tickets are available as part of this agreement. 13, delegate the Mayor and the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate final terms and conditions, including the resolution of the incurred landing fees and execute any documents necessary. Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke. Also, I don't know whether I actually read out, but I'll just read out that Council repeal resolution number OM/08.2022/06 and replace it with what I read out. Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, we have a seconder. I'll speak to the motion. Well, councillors, I believe this is an historic day for being able to lock in, guarantee, from my rough math, 16,000 seats affordable in a 12-month period for flights for residents in and out of the Maranoa. It also has more flexibility than I believe we've ever had in the recent past. We also have a small to medium enterprise fare that will be available at $250 plus fees, and that will be available anyone running a small to medium enterprise of 50 people or less in the Maranoa. And when you look at it, nearly everyone is a small to medium enterprise, whether you're on a farm or running a small business or even having a side business. So these will really open up. We've had so much upset about high cost of airfares, inner flexibility. I will be supporting this agreement, and if this is approved today and if Rex approves it, it will be what happens from the 1st of January, and the Maranoa will have a scheme that no other part of Australia has. So, and the best thing about this is it actually proves that we can have affordable, frequent airfares all the time for residents and business of the Maranoa. And I expect that it will actually be one of the reasons why people move to the region, as we can grow the amount of flights. And this has never happened in the past. We've never even been able to get to the table in talking about a deal like this. So I'm really rapt about it, and I'm looking forward to supporting the motion. Does someone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Taylor?
I will speak against the motion. Do I want to vote for this? Yes, I do. But I can't vote for it because I don't believe there's just too many holes in this whole thing. I would love us to have residence flights, but our airport will run at a loss. And this whole 1 to 13 just doesn't sit right with me at all. I believe the ratepayer will pay dearly for this thing. I believe it is a good deal for Rex. I don't believe it's a good deal for Roma. And as the Mayor said, there's flexibility, but the flexibility could go either way here, and I just don't feel comfortable with 1 to 13, to be honest with you, so I won't be voting for this.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion? Councillor Ladbroke?
Yeah, I think the benefit to the community will be a huge amount of people using the planes with the cheaper flights. More people coming to the region, which will be, a big plus for businesses, hotels, motels, and the tourist industry. I just think, but the biggest plus is that we could fly to Brisbane for $165 each way, which will make a lot of people happy.
Yeah, Councillor Ladbroke, I think it's $169 in case.
Sorry, $169.
In case, also any fees on top.
Yeah.
Okay, does someone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Hancock?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I too would like to support it, but and I acknowledge that whilst there is benefits to the residents in this resolution, but at what cost? And there certainly is a cost. For me, this is just robbing Peter to pay Paul, because eventually the residents will pay. They will still be paying in the long run. To run a business unit of council at a loss for 4 years, so therefore the residents will be propping up this decision of council, in my opinion, is not in line with one of the 5 principles of local government, which is sustainable development and management of assets and infrastructure and delivery of effective services. If this resolution gets up today, we are locking in a business unit of council to run at a loss for 4 years whilst supporting a private enterprise business. I am very concerned about how council will be financing the future upkeep of the airport if this decision gets up today. And so on these bases, I just cannot support this resolution today.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion?
Mr Mayor, can I speak, please? Councillor Guthrie.
Please go ahead.
I think it's been a long process. We have been in deliberations and considering this matter now for over 12 months. And I am very, very mindful that the decision to allow Rex to be our regulated passenger transport operator was a state government decision. So all I can say is I believe all 9 of us, hand on heart, have tried to do our very, very best to make the best of a set of circumstances that were not of our choosing. What has been pretty foremost in my thinking too have been the community meetings we've had, where people have advocated or asked for cheaper flights, accessible flights, and a reasonable number of flights between Brisbane and Roma. I have argued strongly for the best possible that we can get. I'm mindful we've had Rex flying in and out of Roma for nearly 12 months now, which means they are well established and they have created a process and have got credentials in our local airspace. To me, I will be voting for this because I feel that where we are at has been a long and hard journey, and I can't see that if we delay any further that there's going to be any greater benefit for the residents. So I'm going to go with what we have established here. It's cheap flights for both the residents and for the small and medium-sized businesses. And I really am very, very hopeful that it will be positive and that it will be something that the residents and the people of the Maranoa have looked for and asked for.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll speak against the resolution. Councillor Hancock pointed to the 5 principles of the Local Government Act, and point B is the sustainable development and management of assets and infrastructure and delivery of effective services. This decision, in my mind, does not address that principle. In fact, it will turn a profitable business unit of council, which is owned by the community, to running at a loss for a guaranteed loss for the life of the partnership. And for me, I have some real concerns about that. This isn't about Rex for me. This is a stakeholder that's brought a proposal to council. We don't have to accept it. We need to consider what is in the best interest of our community into the long term. And running this particular business unit of council at a loss, in my view, is just not good. It's not a good decision. And I'm sure that there'll be a counter argument that there are other assets of council that are subsidised by the rate base. That doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right that in 2019 this was standing on its own 2 feet. COVID hit us, and now we're considering guaranteeing that this business of council will run at a loss, subsidised by the rate base. There'll be a sugar hit here. People will be excited by the cheaper airfares. I'm confident of that. But in the long run, someone has to pay. And it will be the rate base of the Maranoa that will ultimately pay for the shortfall in the operating costs of the airport for the next 4 years, not to mention when we're a future council will need to do a further upgrade to the airstrip. On my recollection, it cost somewhere in the vicinity of $8 million when we did that strip in 2018. It's got a life of another 10 years to go, 7 to 10 years to go, and proudly, council was able to put in $4 million around that, $3.84 million, whatever it was, from the reserves of the revenue generated by the airport. That won't be the case if this is supported today. But fundamentally, my concern is that we're a regulated route, like many of our regional cousins in Western Queensland. We're a regulated RPT route. And I say to my fellow councillors here, how many of those routes aren't subsidised by the state government? How many of those local governments are having to prop up a regulated route? And for me, we are now stepping into where the state government should be supporting rural and regional communities. The regulated route is there to ensure that we as regional communities have a air service. I question why we are the community, the Roma and Maranoa rate base are the community that are now being asked, if we want cheaper airfares, we're going to have to foot the bill. And quite frankly, I think we're letting the state government off the hook here, and it should be that level of government that's supporting rural and regional communities and our ability to use an air service. And if this agreement is supported today, what government is not going to want this into the future? And it's buck passing, as far as I'm concerned, on to the ratepayers. And I have some real reservations around, we've got community members here that never fly, have never flown, will never fly, and yet they, through their rates, will now be cross-subsidising this business unit of council. And I just don't think that's a good decision for the medium to long-term residents that make up the Maranoa. And on that basis, I just simply will not be supporting this resolution today. And I urge all councillors to vote this down, and let's ramp up a concerted effort to lobby the state government to reinstate a subsidy on the regulated route into Roma.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll speak. First, I'd just
ahead.
like to thank, there's been a wealth of information given to us. I just like to thank the CEO and the staff for that. Getting into council, the first thing on the job list for us, I think, is to listen to the public and their concerns. The two public meetings was overwhelmingly towards more flights, cheaper flights, and a lot of it around medical reasons. I think the positive about this motion that ticks off all those issues, that all the concerns from the public, and I that's first and foremost what we should be looking at. I do take on board that it is going to be a cost, but not everyone swims in the pool or rides a bike around the park. So I know it's probably a bit bigger bickies, but at the same time, not everyone does everything that we're subsidising. I'd like to think that the government still should get off their backsides and support these air routes and that in the future, and hopefully that will happen. But at the moment, we've got a cafe that's non-existent. We've got hire vehicles out there that are getting concessions. Hopefully, that this will bring more people into the area, more people flying, our motels, everything that will be supported. That'll be a benefit to the whole community, as well as the benefits of the cheaper flights and access to medical specialists in Brisbane or further afield. So I'm supporting this motion today.
Okay, does someone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor
Just want
McMullen?
to speak, Mr. Mayor. I've heard, no, not everyone's, and I probably agree with everything that's been said, but my concerns are, one, at the community meetings, we had plenty of people asking for cheaper fares, but were they expecting council to fund that? And another thing I have grave concerns about, if today's agreement is entered into, will we be setting a precedent for the next term, irrespective of which carrier comes to tender on the next, after this term, in another 4 years, will they be expecting the same figures, I suppose the word to say, the same figures to be, will they be tendering on the same figures?
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak for the motion?
I'll just say something for the motion. Certainly voting for the motion. I'd also like to thank all the work, CEO and Mayor and everyone else who's put all the effort into this. There's a lot goes on behind the scenes in these sort of things. The full story is never really up on the screen. Very hard for people to understand unless you've been involved in it. Lots of figures being thrown around, and I could throw a lot of figures around too about the cost, the investment of doing it this way versus what would understandably end up, having an increase in the population that comes to Roma, which is another benefit. A lot of people don't even consider that. But my whole point with this thing is you've got to enter into a partnership agreement with someone, and in this instance we're entering into a partnership agreement with the Rex, and there's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes. As I said, no one really knows what's going to happen, but you can only base on what you're doing now, based on the facts that you've got before you. And there are two different ways of looking at this. You can look at not having a fixed agreement, or you can look at just going with the old variable cost. Now, if you want to sit down and work it out, at the moment, I would say this fixed agreement far outweighs the variable side of things. That's my opinion on it. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? But yeah, I think this is the best agreement that we can offer at the moment based on the facts. So I'll be voting for it.
Okay, if no one else wishes to speak, I'll sum up. Well, what I'd like to say is that this is not, I'm not focused on anything more than what's best for the people of the Maranoa. It's been very sad. We've seen major changes. The truth is we've never had any security about anything for the Maranoa. We're like someone that never even gets to the table to even look at things. This is locked in. 16,000 seats. As many, you could have maybe 30 or 40,000 seats could be booked under the SME scheme as well as the locals. This is huge. These are actual council flights. And I would like to say, whilst I'm a councillor, I always put the general public first. We may subsidise our pools $1 million. We will never get to subsidising this. I believe that we have created an airport that was over-invested in. We were happy to charge the travelling public as much as possible. I believe this is a way that we actually give, as well as getting locked-in discount flights to the Maranoa to grow. I would like to see sustainably grow, double our population in 20 years, and the only way we're going to do it is do different things. So I urge all councillors to support this motion and put the people of the Maranoa first. And on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Guthrie, yes.
Councillor Edwards, yes.
Councillor Burkett, yes.
All those against? 5-4 if I can call for a division. On that note, I'll close the meeting at 2:57 p.m. Thank you for your attendance.